Good morning. You should. Hey. Like check what they're willing to do. That's right. Or if you're all ready, that's right. Look good in black. Look good in black. If that's putting too much on you, but if not, I printed off enough of these that whoever you do assign, I'm gonna try to have it up there too to help people, but if you wanna, write so-and-so's name down, like, okay, hey, that's right. But it should be up there too. I was have to send up there manually. All right, I missed the wear black thing. No, you got it on, your mother-in-law got it on, you got it on, you got it on, James got it on, Marcia's got it on. It's in Carol's rooms. Back and up. Jason gets on.
I brought everything back.
Trying to figure out what caused that look. That's a handsome dude right there. One who's brand young had it.
Miss Terry is going to be your teacher.
High five.
How are you?
Good to see Give me a hand. How about say, easy, you two. So, me, yours is me. Broke. You know where to do it? Yeah, I've done it. I got that every time. Hey, Dad, let's listen to some songs yesterday. I sent a number to you guys to listen to. It's really awesome. The song I had is really awesome.
For reading.
Mm-hmm. But I was driving down the road and it said, you have the wrong phone number. I was like, wait a second, he already responded to the first one. Kevin's laughing because he knows. He's seen the list. I've heard of them. I've heard of them. You're hurting that stuff. I know I'm good. I won't be able to talk this much, but I know this stuff. There's one that's wired. You know, I remember asking my lady, I was gonna, do you think that's still open? My office. I don't think you're from unless they want to. What do you need? Something like that. Hey, girl. You ever seen her turn green when blind? She's kind of crazy. Yeah. We do crazy around here. Yeah, so they don't have to go outside and have one anymore. We have totally fixed it, so we'll be painted, but they can place it see them out in there. Hey, we're full.
I can't hear you. I will. Yeah.
She is, I think she's already in there. Thank you. Oh, is this transition? I don't know. Just like that, listen to the message and soak it with them. Hey, y'all want to start about 5 minutes late? Is your husband with his mom?
No,
Oh.
seems to be a pattern of my children sitting there sick.
My wife's like that. Whenever she's about to go, I think she said even when she was a kid, right about when you're supposed to go travel, she gets sick. I don't know if it's just like your body just kind of, I don't know, but it doesn't happen every time, but it's happened multiple times. When you're about to go somewhere, she'll get sick.
Every time I got off school vacation, I get sick.
Oh,
From college.
and not get to enjoy it.
College or law school.
Well, I'm knocking y'all out. Y'all don't want to come in the side door? I'm trying to keep your feet dry. Well, you know. This is for me to roll you out. Exit stage left.
I knew you hadn't started yet.
Yeah, man, we're running real late. Hey, we're gonna do an entire theme service purely on Romans 8 and read it like 8 times.
And you're gonna read it. And he's gonna ask you to read.
Yes, and the whole thing, like 5 times. The whole thing. Yeah, I feel the flu coming on. You have bad kids. You raised horrible children. Just horrible. 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 In the words of yeah, horrible. Charles Barkley. Couldn't think of his name.
Can you say that a lot louder?
Hey, I'm 5 minutes late. Nice haircut. You look almost as good as me. I'm trying, dude. I'm trying. I do need to. I tried to buy some, but I don't think I got the right stuff. So I didn't get the right brush yet either. Do you brush yours? He's like, yeah. So you're not a big fan of the homeless look? Yeah. Hey, if someone could get Steve Johnson to quit talking back there, we might could get started on time up here. Says the guy that's running 5 minutes late. 7 minutes late. Y'all don't enjoy fellowship though, do you? Right? Just do half and half. I love it. I hate to make it stop sometimes. I like it. We don't get enough of that, so I like it. Did they kick you out?
I'm going to start, but I'm waiting on
I figured they kicked you out because they, knew what you were capable of. I got you. All right, we're going to be in Hosea 8. If you want to start flipping over there, Hosea chapter 8. No, I'll be bopping. So I have to, I don't know if any of y'all have ever done a YouTube live video where you got to fill out what the title is and all that stuff. And there's a little box you have to check before you can hit whatever. And it's like, is this suitable for children? And I'm thinking, the book of Hosea. Nope. All right. Anything we need to specifically make mention of before we dive into chapter 8 this morning? Help Kevin out for later. All right. Mr. Buster and Miss Madeline, it's good to see y'all back. And he's still recovering, and he was trying to run across the street this morning because a car was semi-coming. But I was like, of all the people that don't need to be running across the road this morning, you're probably top of my list. So, all right. I think if Oscar is able to come this morning, we're probably going to have them race, and then whoever loses has to do announcements for Kevin this morning for the month. So there you go. All right, nothing else? We're just going to dive right in, which I'm good. Oh, yep. Yeah, Alicia was telling me something about that.
She's one of our staff members at Grace, and she had a diagnosis of breast cancer. It's been about 3 years ago now, and had a mastectomy and went through chemo and all the treatment, was in remission, and now back, but it's in her bones, down in her pelvic hip bone area, and so she's got to meet again for kind of a
Consult.
yes.
Okay. Nicole Mock is her name? Yeah, she's not very old at all. 10-4. Ashley? Okay, if you know Ashley, it's his wife. 10-4. All right, anything else? We definitely want to be praying for her.
What's wrong with her? Whatever. She's got a demon spawn growing in her, poor child. For sure. Has she gone? Obviously, probably for first couple of visits, or so far so good. Everything. All right, good. All right. Remember Hannah Banana? You good? Already they know? They can't know that soon. I'm not going to jinx it. All right. We need, just pray over Elizabeth. She just, nothing in particular. She just needs it. Look who she's sitting next to. That now you know why she's got problems. You can't help your genetics, baby girl. Sometimes they just jump on you, and it is what it is. You just make the best of it. All right. Anything else before we get rolling? Nothing. Mr. Billy Wiles, can you kick us off?
Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you, Father, for this day and this opportunity we have to assemble together with saints. We can open your word and study it, Father, that it helps strengthen us in our everyday walk. We be able to resist all the temptations of the evil one. Be with us as we go through this class that we can gain something from it. Help go out and share it with the world so that you may be able to bring some souls to you, Father. As we go through this hour, we ask you to be with all the ones that's been mentioned here this morning that's in need of our prayers. Help see to their needs. You know each one of them, the things that they need. We ask you to be with all of us. We'll continue to work, walk straight and narrow pathway, Father. And always be able to share and give an answer for the things that we do. With us that later on come together at church. Help us each one to remember the Son, so willing to come to this earth, walk just as we do, go through the same temptations that we all do, but yet he's without any sin, Father. Thank you for him and all the blessings that come with that. Be with us as we continue to strive every day to always be that good, shining light.
Amen. All right, Hosea chapter 8. I was going to tell y'all, we're going to, I'm not going to kind of go maybe verse by verse. It's going to get, we're kind of the section, we're 8 chapters in, and we're kind of past the story section, we're to the prophecy section. It's getting kind of repetitive a little bit. And then that kind of hit me, we're getting probably the prophet's body of work. Do you think he said all of the chapters in one sitting? Or do you think that there was probably repeated doses of a similar message? Right? Does that kind of make sense? And then I wondered, and I was like, well, before we even launched it, is there a lesson for us in that there was a regular theme? And it's not exactly identical, but Assyria and Egypt have come up multiple times. Their unfaithfulness has come up multiple times. Their prostitution, similar figures has come up multiple. We're getting the prophet's body of work, the whole thing. What's the lesson for us that it would be, quote unquote, similar themes, or I hate to use the word repetitive because we think that's a bad word, but is repetitive a bad thing per se? What's the lesson for us in that we would see common themes over and over? Remember God. All right. Anything else?
God says, hear, hearken. It's time to listen.
Okay. All right. I don't know about all of y'all, but usually like, when my wife tells me something, usually one time is all it takes for me. Right? Am I the only one? Kevin, you also one time is really all I need to be told something, and I'm good. And I'll immediately respond. Right? There's a lot of grinning going on and elbow nudging and people looking out for lightning, I think, looking around, whatever. Why do we take why isn't once a year good enough for the Lord's Supper? Remember, it's good enough, right? Why do you do that? Maybe the Lord had some wisdom in every first day. Do you think they listened to the first time Hosea gave them the message? So, like I said, even like I know it's repetitive, and so I'm going to skip around, but there's a lesson in the repetition for us that we need kind of that constant message. All right. They're not getting it. Yeah. And I think this is kind of a little bit lesser point, but so that God is without excuse when the judgment comes, can anybody say, oh, we never heard? You never told us. We didn't know. Mm-mm. It's a repeated message that came over and over and over again. So chapter 8, verse 1, put the trumpet to your lips. Do you have something along the lines, an eagle is over the house of the Lord? So the eagle imagery is something that's used semi-regularly. What would the idea of, even with going up specific, if I just said, hey, something is coming like an eagle, what would the message be to you? Just by the way, the English Standard Version says a vulture, which maybe makes it, I don't know, a little bit more graphic. Why are the eagles or the vultures coming? Something's about, now some people think there's a hidden message because it's not just for Israel, that Judah is at times, they're going to come to their doorstep. They don't take Judah off. So it could be the guy that actually comes for the Assyrians. It could be, I think Sennacherib is his name. Or no, Shalmaneser. Shalmaneser is the guy that comes for them. But the actual ensign of the Romans was the eagle. So there could be some forecasting of a predatory bird, one that feeds off of after battles have taken place and there's dead bodies laying around. The vultures are coming. That's the picture. Put a trumpet to your lips, announce it. That's what's about to show up. Why? Verse 1. They have transgressed or broken my covenant. They have rebelled against my law. Now, Israel, verse 2, is crying out, but God, we know you. We acknowledge you. But that's what the vultures are coming. But Lord, we're your people. We got the temple. That's one of the things that Jeremiah quoted. The temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. Well, what good is having the box and the location if you what? If you don't pay attention, if you don't go, if you haphazardly go, if you ignore, it doesn't matter that you have the temple of the Lord. It doesn't matter that. God, we know you. Do you? There's a New Testament correlation. Lord, in your name, we perform miracles, and in your name, we cast it. Lord, we know you. And Jesus says, I never knew you. There's the other one where the guys try to use Jesus' name to cast out demons. Y'all remember that one in the book of Acts? And the demon's like, well, Jesus we know, and Paul we know, but who are you guys, kind of thing. So, Lord, Israel cries out to me, my God, Israel, we know you. But Israel has rejected what is good. You have something along that lines, or spurned what is good. And that's interesting. He doesn't say you've rejected me, you've rejected what is good. What does that add to the thought? That you've rejected not just God, but what's good.
You don't even keep that in your mind. Know all the blessings that you received from me.
Sure.
Now you just throw all that away.
As much as we try to do all the thank you Lords, how many thank you Lords are we not even aware of? That could be one application. I think of some other places we could go with about rejecting what is good. Yeah. Where I was going, I'm because of the law of God, have you avoided doing certain things? Or done, do you think there was a blessing in that law that sometimes felt like a burden, but like if that diet keeps you from doing it, it's for your good. Matt?
So God is righteous. His ways of righteousness. For us to be good, we have to seek after that. That is all that is good.
Mm-hmm.
Really. you boil it all down, there's nothing good about us if we don't have God.
Well, you know, where I was going to is like, hey, let's just boil it down to the most base level. You know what'd be really good for you? Him not coming like an eagle. That would be really good for you, him not coming like a vulture. I mean, it's like base level, he is good, and he's invited you to be with him, and you're going to say no thank you to that. You have rejected him who is good, which is the blessing. I saw G. Paul.
I like the word rebellion better. We know what we should be doing, but we go the opposite direction.
You know, yeah, rebellion is not ignorant, is it? In order to fulfill the definition of rebellion is I know and I intentionally, ooh, that is a good word. That shows the acknowledgement. Billy?
You know, he does. He forgives all sin and everything. But we have to deal with the consequences of our sin.
Sure.
And that's why he's telling us, you even rejected what's good. That's what I know, that you're going to see these consequences of your mistakes, and you got to live that.
But those consequences didn't even have to be, they could have been washed away, forgiven. So like that word good is not a small word. When he says you've rejected what is good, you're including the one who is good, and that includes all of the blessings that flow from the one that's not a small concept when he says you've rejected what is good for you, evil. No. Oh, that's a good point. It's not. Well, go back to why does he have to repeat the message? Because they're not getting it.
And the scripture says God is good, and that doesn't mean he's just good. It means everything we do
Yes.
is from God. We have to get them the credit for good.
That's it. Because all of our righteous deeds, and there's no, not one. You know, there's none righteous, no, not one. That's kind of back to where you were headed with some of that, Brett. Mm-hmm. To him who knows the right thing to do and does not do it, to him it is sin. That's right. So, there's this device that's on all of our phones that we could use to Google verses. Like Joel has introduced us that you could type in these words and find stuff. I'm never going to live that down, am I? I'm not going to let myself live it down. So I got you. All right. So you've rejected what is good. So let's hit some high points. Verse 4, they set up kings without my approval or without my consent. You have something along that lines? The English Standard says they made kings, but not through me. Does God want to have a say in who our leaders are? And I know that's weird for us to kind of apply because I don't know that we are and for them, I don't think they got to vote. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different in America, but I still believe that God rules in the kingdoms of men. And I've also said multiple times, we typically get the leaders that we deserve, especially in nations that have a say in the vote. We've got exactly the leader that we deserve. We voted for him. There was a popular vote, and whether stolen or what, there was millions upon millions of people that wanted what we have, right? Where I go, and we can't control that. And I'm not trying to get political this morning, but if I'm not seeking what's good, why would I expect my president to seek what's good? So it's easy to flow all the blame to somebody else. If I'm not any more righteous than he is, then so you set up kings without my consent. You chose princes, but without my approval. The ESV says they set up princes, but I knew it not. This is, Lord, we know you, but you're doing stuff that didn't come from me. You didn't ask me to be a part of your election process. Silver and gold, they made idols for themselves to their own destruction. Verse 5, I have spurned your calf, Samaria. My anger burns against them. Do you have the word incapable in verse 5? How long will they be incapable of purity or incapable of innocence? What does that say to you? Okay. Where does your brain go with? Are they incapable of being innocent or pure? They what? They have a choice. What choices they've been making pretty repeatedly. You know what I mean? I think it's a rhetorical. How long are you going to be incapable? And then verse 6, I like the NIV kind of separates it and says, they are from Israel, exclamation point. This is, for it is, and I think that the intention ESV reads it, for it is from Israel, a craftsman made it. It is not God. His point is, hey, this calf idol got made. Guess where it came from? Huh? Man, but we're drilling even more specific. So like where I'm going with this, a calf has been made. It's from Israel. You didn't get this from some foreign place to blame it on them. Guess who made the calf? Guess who came up with it? Guess who set up the two high places? Not a Moabite king, not an Assyrian king. It was a Israelite king that set up the high places. This is like sometimes we love to come in this building and point fingers at those who are outside and look how foolish they are. This is an in-house problem, is the point here. This calf idea came from Israel. This is from Israel, a craftsman made it and not God. And so that calf of Samaria is going to be broken to pieces. Now, all that, I think verse 7 is a type of summary statement. They sow the wind, they reap the whirlwind. Do you have that? Let's break it down in halves. What does it mean to sow the wind? Okay. So no structure, no, okay. I think that's part of wind. Where else do you go at wind? Yes, sir. Okay. Let me put another word in here that may get us closer. The idea of vapor or mist. It's empty. You've sown emptiness. It's just wind. There's no substance, or it's scattered. It's just no order design. It's just kind of going where it wants, but there's nothing to it. You've sown wind.
How about you're letting something like wind take you?
Or the toss to and fro,
Yeah.
which would fit with how many different lovers have they gone after? You've just kind of gone, just wherever you're blown without order design, Kevin?
The everywhere word. They've done everything everywhere.
Under every green tree, just wherever the wind blows. So you've sown wind and you're going to reap whirlwind, tornado, right? Hurricane. You've sown emptiness, you've sown everywhere, you've sown nothingness and vanity, and you're going to reap a very concentrated, destructive wind. You've sown wind, you're going to reap whirlwind.
I always look at that like someone who murders or whatever, or sin. You sin. You sow sin and then you reap.
You only sin on sin days? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
But because you have to suffer the consequences.
That's it. It's a quick, haphazard sowing that has a monstrous price tag behind it. Even if you could get something out of your grain, verse 7, if you could plant something that would actually grow, what's going to happen to it? Foreigners are going to take it, or you're going to give it to them. Verse 8, Israel is swallowed up. Now she's among the nations. The NIV says, like something no one wants. The ESV says, like a useless vessel, but that doesn't quite capture it to me. It's a graphic picture. You've given yourself under every green tree. You've prostituted yourself everywhere, and guess what? Nobody wants that now. You've been tossed to and fro and passed all around. Who wants you now is the picture. And if I could insert the entire story of Hosea, guess who does want her? Even after that. That's where that movie and that book, the prostitute who's been passed around and everybody knows she's a prostitute and everybody's had her, who would want that? God does. All right. Just let that one marinate. Now, verse 9 follows it up. For they've gone to Assyria like a wild donkey wandering alone. Ephraim has sold herself to her lovers, verse 9. Do y'all have, instead of sold yourself, you have a different word than sold that makes it even worse? Hired. Ooh. I went and yeah, right? You got it. Sold themselves. They've hired other lovers. Although, verse 10, they have sold themselves among the nations, I will now gather them together. They will begin to waste away under the oppression of the mighty king. That's the NIV has oppression. I know y'all got something different because I looked up a few different versions. Do you have something under to render the tribute burden? Something along that lines in verse 10?
Mine says sorrow and little burden. A little for the burden.
So like they've sold themselves. Let's see. They hire allies among the nations. Soon all the princes shall soon writhe because of the tribute. You're going to be squirming. What's tribute? You have to pay. The tribute burden of what king? Does God ask them for anything? Mild obedience. A base level of loyalty and fidelity is what he's asked for. These other kings that you've sold yourselves to, you're going to ride. You're going to be oppressed. You're going to waste away under these taxes that they're going to pose upon you for their protection, and it's an empty protection. You're going to pay the very person. This is where I think about hiring prostitutes. You've sent money to Assyria, and guess who's going to come take you away? You just paid for them to come coach you off. That's when you see, when we talk about rejecting what is good, do you see? The sowing wind, reaping whirlwind, it's all of this tied up in there. All right, and so verse 11. What did Ephraim do? And remember, Ephraim is the ruling class of Israel. What did they do? But just one or two? What do you have? Something along that line? They built, Ephraim built many altars for sin offerings, right? They multiplied. Now the ESV says they multiplied altars for sinning. So that's what makes it a little bit different there.
Remember that photo I showed you of one of those places?
Yes.
That's when they make these altars. It's like a temple.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not just they went out under a tree and
there's effort to build.
Put up a pile of rocks. I mean, they built like these complexes. You know, it took time, effort, design.
So, and I kind of went with, hey, you can do a whole bunch of sacrifices and it may not done anything for you. I think it's more the pagan altars that they built under all these. You got all these places. You got every green tree kind of is where we're to.
So Solomon, other kings, even just common men, foreign wives would take them and take their focus away, and they would worship with their foreign wives. And that was bad. This is 1,000 times worse because these are Israelites that they're not like just being led astray, like come and see how it is over here with me.
On the other side, yeah.
Right. It's not an example of them being led away. They're choosing.
That's the verse 6 power to me. This is in Israel. In Israel, the craftsman made the golden calf. Not that it lets you off the hook that you've been led, but when it's self-chosen, like I said, this is an in-house. This is not a finger-pointing, blame the ites. This is an in-house. We did this. Verse 12. Someone want to read their version of verse 12 for me? Who wants to read? Joel, are you sweeping something away, or do you mind reading? Well, it's probably, they what they're drawn to, Brett. I'm just saying. Whatever. All right. Verse 12. Joel.
Even though I gave them all my laws, they act as if those laws don't apply to them.
Ooh. They acted as they don't apply to them. You have something different other than acted like the laws don't apply to them?
Considered strange.
God's law is something strange. God's law is something that doesn't apply to us. The good that he wants to give us is not, you know what? Good is probably strange for you, right? Righteousness probably is foreign to you. Shouldn't be. The law that I gave them is something that's strange or foreign. This is the, rather than being the norm, the under every green tree is the norm, and the law, the righteous, the good is the exception.
He says, the law I have written.
Right. I wrote it. I gave it.
Those tablets.
Yeah. And they don't want it. And so they offer sacrifices as gifts to me. They eat the meat, verse 13, but the Lord's not pleased with them. Why? Because it's not for me. It's going through the motions. You're not faithful. You're not loyal. That's kind of like this whole concept of this whole book. Is God okay with us worshiping him and that's good enough, even though you want to worship other things and give, as long as, and man, I hate to be graphic, but it's like as long as you come home at night, it's okay where you roam during out the day. That's good enough for you husbands. As long as your wife comes home to you at night, if you don't care where she spends her time during the day or whose bed she's laying in during the day, that's most of you men are going to be okay with that arrangement. As long as she comes home, I don't care where you go. You're good with that? I mean, but that's the graphic picture here, right? You're not, well, Lord, we'll come to your temple too. But then they've built many altars. Well, as long as, as you're making your way through the town, through all of the groves and all, as long as you, pass by mine and acknowledge my temple, good enough. That's all God requires. That's the picture, y'all. That's the picture. Right. I'm in church today. So I'm passing by your altar on Sunday, but I'm going to pass by some other altars throughout the week, and that's good enough. Where we're going, there's a lot of different words that mean something on that. A pilgrim means something. Seeking means something. Or am I getting comfortable here? That's kind of where we're headed, right? Lord, I want you, but I want some other things too. So he will remember their wickedness, verse 13. He will punish their sins. They're going to return to Egypt. Not literal Egypt, but what does it mean returning to Egypt? That's symbolic. Bondage. They know exactly. That's almost like that's it's not a cheap shot, but that's a shot across the bow. They know exactly what Egypt is, what it meant for them, what happened there. Yes, God got you out in a mighty way. He set you free, and now by your own choice, you're. And can we insert here, in the process of them getting out and being delivered and seeing the Red Sea and all of the plagues, that there were multiple times they did what? It was better in Egypt than it is now. We had full pots in Egypt. Yeah, as a slave. Making bricks, and they were increasing how difficult it was to do it because y'all had too many. It was better. And Lord, I'd rather be a slave. I'd rather be behind bars. Hey, behind bars, at least I got 3 square meals a day. Didn't get to do what I wanted or see my family or anything else, but at least I didn't have to go looking for something to eat. Had a place to sleep. Didn't have to work for it. Sometimes we choose that. Verse 14, Israel has forgotten their maker, his maker, and built these other places instead. And so he's going to send fire upon their cities. Chapter 9. So don't rejoice, Israel. This ain't nothing to be bragging about. No victory parties. Don't be jubilant like the other nations, for you have been. My version says you've been unfaithful. ESV and other ones say something a little stouter. What you nodding at, Joel, back there? What does yours say? You went a whore. Oh, see, I just had played a harlot, but there's just something about that. What do you have to be proud of? You know what I mean? Like you're sitting around like, man, we're something. You are exactly what you are. You have been unfaithful to your God. You love the wages of a prostitute. You enjoy doing that to yourselves. You talk about not suitable for children, the button you got to click. I hope this is, he's been saying, it's not the first time he's called them prostitutes, right? But the repeated message, he's trying to get through. He's trying to use, God makes Hosea do this literally. Go back to the first 3 chapters, just as a reminder. God makes Hosea live this. So when he speaks these words, this is not just idle prophecy. Not that any idle word ever comes from God, but it's like, this is spoken from a position of a man who's living this, right? You think it stings for him to write these words? And if I'm painting Gomer the right way, I love to daydream that Gomer was thankful. I love to daydream that she learned her lesson, that it meant something to come home. But brethren, there's a very good chance if she was a regular prostitute and enjoyed it, that she may have never been uber thankful to have even been bought back. We don't know. We're not told. I've never met her. You know what I mean? Lord willing, I'll get to meet her in heaven and she's there. But what if it's the case that Hosea does all this for her, to pursue her, to woo her, and now she comes home, but like the whole time she's home, part of her mind's still thinking about, it'd be better in Egypt. You think that's at least a possibility for someone here who really enjoys the excitement of being a prostitute, and yet got a faithful, loyal husband sitting there, and he's getting nothing out of it, or he's getting a minimal effort? Does that paint a picture for us of a God who's sitting there doing everything for us? And what does he get out of it? My minimal effort. And not only does he get my minimal effort, but I want him to be proud of I want him to be overwhelmed, ecstatic that I'm giving him my leftovers. If I could borrow Malachi's. Do y'all see? He should be so happy with me, and I'm not even giving him my whole heart.
Okay. I'll scarily reveal how my brain works.
Oh, man.
John chapter 4, the Samaritan woman.
Mm-hmm.
Why was she there when she was there?
Because she probably be made fun of if she came any other time.
And who did she go speak to after she saw Jesus? It's almost like it's a reconciliation of Gomer.
Of getting to go home and talk to her people. I saw another hand raised. I didn't want to. Wes?
You said you hope and you dream that she turned things around.
I'd love that wonderful end of the story.
It is.
No. Just Dan Chaney every day?
Are we getting the lesson? It is for us too.
Mm-hmm.
We got to apply it.
Israel never came back around. And I hope maybe the real woman Gomer did, but so I am Gomer. I am Israel. God is Hosea. All right. Threshing floors and wine presses. What are their purpose? That's where you bring in the harvest, right? You pick the grapes, you've plucked the grain heads. This is where you expect to produce and get, right? That's the everything. This is the packing house, the shipping house. So you've done all this work to bring it all in, and you would expect now production, something, a result. Threshing floors and wine presses will fail or not feed my people. New wine will fail them. You're not going to get from this what you thought you were going to get. And if I could put a slogan, like if I could put out a warning sign in front of Satan's house, you're not going to get from this what you think you're going to get. He's advertising this. I will sell you this, and he's selling it hard, and we're hook, line, and sinker. If I could flashing caution signs, you're not going to get from this what you want. I know it's unfaithfulness, but man, I just might be really happy in the arms of this other person. It's not going to be what you want. I know it's a little bit of lying. I know it's a little bit of cheating. It's a little bit of, you're not going to get from whatever he's selling. The grass is not greener over there. Right? You're not going to get from this what you thought you were going to get. And so, you You're not going to pour out wine offerings to the Lord, nor will their sacrifices please him. Verse 4. All who eat them are going to be, you can keep going through the motions of worship, but you're not going to get from that worship what you expected. Again, if I'm going to every altar on my way to the Lord's temple, am I going to get from that worship service what I expected? Right? I'm here on Sunday. If I've been everywhere else but in God's mind or trying to pursue him all week, are you going to get out of Sunday what you expected? I'm not selling perfection because I know that's not realistic. What I am selling is effort. And I believe effort is rewarded. Ask, it'll be given. Seek, and you will find. And I won't perfectly seek, and I won't ask as many times as I should. But your effort, I believe, to pursue him will be rewarded. And that's the perfect segue to where we're headed.